Hello guys and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. We're doing another shipping container home, and you may notice in the background that the first shipping container home, which should have been up on the channel here just a bit ago, is finished in the background. These are on the same lot. I'm going to probably upload them both as a residential and as a residential rental, so you could have two full units going. And that was initially kind of the idea. The reason these are separate videos is because I ended up furnishing them separately. You could set them down on the lot, delete one or delete the other, and they would both work. But this one's a little bit bigger. This has 4 shipping containers instead of 3. The upstairs is still tight, has sort of the same idea with the little bump out. I tried to keep the outsides pretty cohesive, but the inside I made a little bit bigger. I imagined maybe you could have 2 Sims living here if you got things a little bit tighter. Maybe you get 2 Sims and a baby before you move out to your, second home or whatever. The way I designed this, though, the interior decor is sort of done telling the story of maybe like a travel blogger or a photographer for some magazine where she travels the world or he travels the world. And so I started kind of with this idea of like a lot of the furniture is kind of your basic, and then there's like touches of like different cultural patterning or different decor or things like that around to that you can see where they've started like collecting things on their travels. And I imagined as you're playing this sim, to me this sim would be like goes to El Salvador, goes to Granite Falls, goes to Tamarang, goes to Mount Komorabi, those kind of places, and like either writes about their adventures, Sulani for example, the Grecian island that I can't remember the name of now that we have, those different places, goes to Henford on Bagley and writes about being in the European countryside, like that kind of thing, and collects things in different pieces from different worlds and has a beautifully decorated home with all of their travels and, maybe is the journalist career, so has some of their fun articles up on the wall, stuff like that. So as you're playing, you're decorating the house was kind of what I was imagining, and honestly, I kind of got really excited to play this sim, so I'm probably going to actually make this sim and play this sim in my personal world. But that was sort of the inspiration for this. So a little bit of a different vibe than the first container house build, which we had much more of like kind of happy, fun colors, maybe a little bit more staged, a little bit more like IKEA core kind of. This one's a little bit more like there's not really a plan, there's just beautiful memories everywhere, and it kind of creates its own style a little bit. I will tell you though, I struggled so hard with picking a couch because in my head I was like, I just want a good standard like brown leather couch, and it took, I know they're not on screen right now, but it took forever to figure out like a standard leather couch. We have some in the game now, but it just took forever to figure out like how I wanted everything to play together, and then what side chair I wanted. And every time I picked a side chair, then it didn't look right with the couch, and then I would try to change the couch again. The living room fought me. What you can see me doing right here is realizing that because of the way I placed the containers, I have some weird spaces in the upstairs, and trying to figure out how to do that. I also didn't want to put the bed up against the wall again. I wanted to do something different because in the other container home I stuck it up in the corner. So this one, your Sims can do the scooch, but if you're playing with a single Sim, personally what I would do immediately is like go move the bed. Those aren't the final decor pieces also, as I'm sure you know. I'm just trying to figure out the layout, make sure this even works in any way right now. And a huge upper deck, which we didn't have on the other one, and I was really excited about. So most of the outside use case stuff excuse me, is here, whereas in the other little lot they make much more use of their patio space. And I also like tried to make it a little bit more private up there as we go, but it took a little bit to kind of figure out here. This layout is also kind of funny because it's just basically a huge multi-purpose space, right? The kitchen's kind of tucked in this little alcove. We have an actual dining area, which is fantabulous. We have a living space, and then I stuck their little work area in the corner because, like I said, in my head, if they're like a journalist, a writer, a blogger, or something like that, maybe they're internet famous, who knows, they need a place to sit down and work on the computer. They need a place to write. They need a place to create content. So I did do that. Originally, in my head, I thought, well, maybe I'll put make like an actual bedroom downstairs and then have the upstairs be entirely an office. And that might be a cool, like, third container home design, not on the same lot. We're kind of out of space. But maybe in the future, I'll try to do something like that where the office is upstairs, or do, like, maybe container pods would be really fun, where like the main house and then there's like an office or studio space. That could be really fun. I love the idea of container homes because I love the idea of taking something that can no longer be used for its job and giving it a second life somewhere else. Although, I will tell you, I have seen some container homes online lately. They are like not cheap anymore. I remember when they first started coming on the scene, everyone was like, oh, what a cheap way to get like your first house. What a lovely way to recycle and what, all of this. And now there's like multi-million-dollar container homes. And I'm so confused. I guess it's probably just supply and demand, right? It's probably just everyone wanted a container home, so now you can sell them for lots of money. But my goodness, they are not economical anymore. Although, I will say, this is jumping topics a little bit, but it's on theme. There's kind of a funny thing happening that I've noticed. I'm sure it's been happening for a while, but I just noticed it, where like Amazon and Home Depot and like Lowe's and like hardware stores basically, and like I think even Walmart's got one maybe, which I guess I should clarify because I don't know if those are outside the US. I'm pretty sure everyone knows Walmart, but Walmart is like a kind of like budget department store. Lowe's and Home Depot are like big box hardware stores, and Amazon is Amazon. It's an online retailer. But they're selling like tiny homes. Like you can actually order like the bones of a tiny home flat pack style and put it together yourself. It doesn't come with plumbing obviously or electrical. You have to run that yourself. But like it reminds me of like the Sears Roebuck catalogs from the sort of expansion era of the United States. For those of you who aren't familiar, there was a department store. I don't think there's any left. Maybe there's a couple. I don't know if they're completely gone. There's a department store called Sears. And it spawned from a catalog company that would sell things through catalog called Sears Roebuck. And Sears Roebuck, these catalogs, I think if I recall, they were like twice yearly. They would go out to everyone in the mail. And they had everything in them. You could get canning supplies. You could get dress fabric. You could get full houses. You could order, and some of them had things like barns and livestock, and like you could order everything through Sears Roebuck. You could order a whole house, and in fact, there's several societies and stuff online that are dedicated to preserving Sears Roebuck houses. And the idea is they would ship you the materials and the plans, and you would put it together. In fact, I believe it's gone now, but when I was moving over here, I actually looked at a Sears Roebuck house, and it was gorgeous, but it had been beat so badly. Like, I'm only 5 foot, and the ceilings upstairs had collapsed so badly that I couldn't walk upstairs. And so to buy that house and preserve it as a Sears Roebuck house would have been so much money, and I wouldn't have been able to live in it for probably a year or more. I would have had to have someone come in and help me basically like Concord restore kind of thing. Like it was a mess, but I fell in love with it. But it wouldn't have worked for me anyway because it was like butt up against a pretty heavy duty traffic area on the highway. And I live now like a couple miles from the highway because I have animals, and it would have really stressed me out to have them living like right on the highway. But it was gorgeous. It was really pretty 2-story like farmhouse style. But they're very rare because a lot of people have torn them down because, at the time they weren't something special. They were just what you did. But anyways, the point I was making is these tiny houses you can get basically in the mail now. They remind me very much of like the Sears Roebuck buy a house things, buy a plan and get the wood and stuff shipped to you. And some of them are fairly economical. I am not really in the need for a tiny house right now. I am in the need for an office space. I have joked about buying a shed and making it my office, but I would freeze in the wintertime and I would overheat in the summertime, so that's not really applicable. I have talked also about like renovating my attic because I have an attic space that's unfinished, but that would be so expensive. Oh my goodness. So I live with my little clawfish in my room for right now. But with these tiny homes and stuff, even some of my family members have been like, Amanda, you should just buy one and turn it into an office. And I'm like, you make that sound simple. They're still several $1,000s. They're still very expensive for like just on a whim purchase, but they are much cheaper than $500,000 for a house. Which in my area, because everything comes with land right now, you're looking probably minimum of $1 million. So I am already priced out of my own neighborhood, which has happened twice in my life, and I don't appreciate it. It needs to stop. But anyways, here you can see me fighting with some of the furniture, trying to figure out the vibe. I went with the black kitchen, and I stuck with it, but I think that's part of what threw me off for so long was like trying to figure out, because at first I was like, okay, let's make it look like it's like fresh built, you have all this stuff, and then it's just like IKEA, and then we'll decorate with the stuff from her travels or his travels or their travels. And I was like, that'll work. But then I couldn't get the vibes right with like the sort of like flat pack looking furniture that I had wanted. So then I was like, okay, well maybe some of the furniture she's like, or he's like, or they like have investigated in, goodness, I'm tired, invested in. So like, you know, maybe they've sent things home or like spent money on a good couch, you know, that kind of thing. Like maybe they've been here a little bit longer and some of the furniture, like they've taken some time for, and then like it changed the vibe and then I had to fight with it. And I went with a black bathroom too, because I kind of thought that like that was maybe when they were building this before whoever moved in, they were like, black is where it's at. Also, I know some of you are screaming right now and you're going, Amanda, where on earth are the windows? Good catch. I completely forgot about it till the absolute end and then went, why is it so dark in this house? I do go back and put windows in. There will be windows in this bathroom. There will be windows in the living room. Kind of. There are windows around enough to make it bright. With the big doors, I didn't even think about it. I was like, yeah, there's enough light in here, but really, it's nice to have more windows than that. And I put windows in the kitchen because I wanted to line them up with the cabinetry and then completely forgot the rest of it, which is more and more common for me. I have a tendency to completely forget to put in windows lately. That's like my new thing. But they do happen. Also, if you can hear my chair squeak, I'm very sorry. I thought I had it fixed and I was wrong. So now I have to get somebody to help me who knows what they're talking about, because I'll fix it. It's fine. But yeah, I thought I was gonna have it fixed before I recorded again, and unfortunately the chair still squeaks. Here we're hanging up some like tapestries and putting some different things on the wall here. You'll see I put up the books for the book nook kit. I thought that was really cute because I'm assuming they're a writer. Put a little mug there because there's always a perpetual mug. Anywhere where there's work getting done on a computer, I'm convinced. And I thought like the tapestries made it look kind of cool, like she had picked them up somewhere. Like this one I believe is from Malcolm, and then I have the base game one on the other wall, but it looks really cool. And I like this apothecary table simply because I like this apothecary table, to be honest with you, but I also kind of like the idea that maybe it was a chest somewhere that she picked up. This bird cage size down is from Tomarang. I don't actually know where that little fake the word just went out of my head. It's not a banister. The thingy that goes on a fireplace. Mantle, there I go. I don't know where that fake mantelpiece has come from. I was not paying attention to the packets from, but it is gorgeous and I thought it was really cool. And again, I was looking at that going, so I am terrible, to clarify here, I am terrible about buying things when I am out of town that are far too big for me to get home reasonably and then having to pay way too much in shipping. I have brought home giant pieces of lumber. I have brought home pallets and things. I find weird things and I go, I love this. The desk that I'm working on, I actually purchased before I had a place to live and I was like, well, figure this out. I'm notorious at it. So for me, the idea of like falling in love with a really pretty mantle in like Henford on Bagley and then shipping it back to Newcrest, expensive, stupid, ill-advised, absolutely something I would do. So I was like, yeah, she definitely picked that up somewhere on the side of the road or fell in love with it in an artist shop or in the barn or on one of her stories. Sent it home. Rug is kind of bright. It took a while to find one that I liked, but ended up doing kind of a brighter color because, again, something I thought she could maybe ship home. In my head, this sim isn't necessarily hurting for money. I know they're living in a container home, and I know they have, like, a single bedroom, and it's honestly more of, like, a loft style because there's really not a door or anything. But in my head, the sim is more just, like, I needed a small place to rest my head and not I'm living here necessarily for economical reasons, so that's why they have the money to, like, ship these things home and stuff. The rug in here also took forever because, of course, it's a weird-shaped space. We don't know how to do any other shapes. Rugs are another one of those things where I very desperately want to go into Sims 4 Studio and just make more patterns. And more, just solids. Just nice solids. Or, like, this rug with this nice pattern, but, like, in more colors. That kind of thing. I sense a Sims 4 Studio run coming up soon. I haven't had time to get it updated or anything to be able to use it. I'm a couple versions behind because I updated my OS recently and had to like reinstall everything, and I didn't reinstall Sims 4 Studio because I've kind of just been installing things as I've needed them, you know how that goes. So I need to get that reinstalled. This makes me sad. So I had this idea because I liked this rug, but it was like the holes in the middle. I was like, those would annoy me because those legs would get caught in the holes. So I put a rug underneath it and tried to make it look like it was solid and like had pattern to it. And I thought it was really cute, and I was like, cool, they layer the right way. And then I signed back in my next lunch break to work on this build some more, and they had relayered in a different way, and I couldn't get them to layer back, so I couldn't count on it layering the right way anymore, right? Like, I couldn't count on the fact that you would download this and it would layer the right way. So I had to give up on that idea, and I just left the jute rug, which is fine. It's a very pretty rug, and it's The Sims, so it literally doesn't matter. The legs are not going to get caught in the table, and The Sims not going to have a late night meltdown because it's been a hard day at work and now the chair is stuck in the rug. That doesn't happen in The Sims. That's a real life problem. But it did make me kind of upset that ended up not working out, because I really did like the little pop of orange in the holes. It would be cool if the rugs maybe... which I actually put them down in the wrong order, but it'd be cool if the rugs stayed in the order you put them down, because I tried to like rejig it when I logged back in, and no matter what order I put them down in, the orange one wanted to be on top after the fact. Sad, but it's okay. It's alright. And I like those chairs a lot. They looked really cool. They looked to me like a thrift store find or like an estate sale find maybe. And they actually reminded me a little bit of my grandma's chairs, which my grandma's chairs actually, this sounds so dumb. They reminded me of my grandma's chairs. My grandma's chairs looked nothing like those, my maternal grandma, but they have the same like vibe as her dining room, if that makes sense, which realistically this house has a little bit of that same vibe because my granddad was an Air Force pilot, and so they traveled quite a bit before my mom, aunt, and uncle were born. So they lived in the Philippines for a while, they lived in Alaska for a while, they lived in several, he did a couple tours of remote and stuff where my grandma would go with him, and my mom actually went with them for a while. She's the oldest, but it got to be a lot when my uncle and then my aunt were born, which is completely fair. But, and then of course he retired out, and then they would travel, and so my grandma would get little things for the house, not big things like I've done here, but she would get lots of like little decor pieces and stuff for the house from different places that she got to visit. They had stuff from Korea, they had stuff from Japan, they had stuff from several different Caribbean islands, things like that. Places that I can only dream of going right now. And it had that sort of similar vibe where it's like, this weirdly like all goes together just because it screams of, you know, I got to enjoy these cultures and travel and stuff, but it doesn't really have like a concentrated vibe or anything. Very similar to this build where it's just like, this person really enjoyed traveling and brought stuff home from their travels, and it was great. I tried to go really light and like spa-like in the bedroom, because if you're working downstairs, your work is always in your home, you're always going to be a little bit on, so I wanted the upstairs to be very calm, very serene, very like, this is just my chill zone. So there's like a little study area with the bookshelf upstairs. It works, it's fiddly, but it's more for aesthetics, let's be real here. Put some wood on the walls. This is the part where I start realizing, oh wait, there's no windows, that's why it looks very stark in here. And then I put her dresser and stuff in the little bump out, and I put 2 dressers in, even though you probably don't need it. I wanted it to look kind of like a cute little dressing space. There's a poof in there, which I don't think would look great if your sim actually sat. It's basically for aesthetics, it's fine. And then I put some luggage in there, which is basically just another dresser, but I thought it looked cute and it made sense for the story I was trying to tell. So there's a backpack and a suitcase, because I imagined her traveling somewhat light, maybe backpacker style most of the time. And then out here we have a little sitting space, a place to paint, because I just love to give easels to my Sims. It's an easy way to make money, and most Sims seem to like painting. There's a meditation station here and yoga mat. And I put a bunch of mats under the yoga mat because I imagined this flooring would actually suck to do any sort of stretching or yoga on. Oh my goodness. Any sort of Pilates, anything like that would hurt. Realistically, if it were me, like if I lived here, I would be putting matting down on the floor. And if I end up playing in these houses, I probably will make it look like there's some sort of like garden matting or faux wood floor or something on there. But I wanted it to look, for now, like the top of the shipping container, because that's the vibe we're going for. And then I put these cute little things sized down. These are from Desert Luxe, which was free actually quite a while ago now. But I absolutely love the thing about Desert Luxe that's kind of interesting is a lot of their furniture doesn't quite look Max's Match, even though it's a Max's pack, which makes no sense. But it's a beautiful kit. It's a beautiful kit, which usually I'm sort of like, meh, on kits. There's some really beautiful kits that I have that I was gifted for Christmas, but I've always kind of been like, are kits worth it? I don't know. I'm very grateful to have been gifted some kits for Christmas. And there's certainly some that are my favorite, but for those of you who watch Little Simsy, I very much agree with her sentiment of kits are really hard because they are very specific. So if you do not build in that style, or you do not play in that style for cast kits or gameplay kits, yeah, they're definitely not worth it. It's not like an expansion pack where there's probably something in there for you, or there's a world, or there's something interesting enough that it's kind of broad for everyone. Kits are very niche, which I think is kind of cool, but it means there's a lot of them. I don't have the new castle kit because it looks really cool, and I will probably pick it up at some point because I love putting stonework in my builds and stuff, but it's not a big priority for me because I don't really anticipate myself building castles. I can see myself doing a lot of like making it look like someone came in and bought like a ruined castle and then put like really ultra modern design like keys in there, design moments in there, and like those kind of like complete clash of aesthetics working together. I can see myself doing stuff like that. I don't know if I can ever see myself putting together a castle, but it looks cool, and eventually if I have $5 lying around I might pick that up. I just love having stuff to build with. It's very inspiring to just be able to go in and like pick a new wallpaper and then figure out what to do with it. I do that a lot off camera because I'm always worried about getting into the same like build style too often on the channel. Here I am remembering to put windows in Magic. I know. It's interesting putting windows in after the furniture's in, because there's places where like logically a window would go, but you can't because you already put a big piece of furniture. Like here, I would have totally put a window in if I had put the windows in first. So I had to figure out how to do it with a plant, which actually turned out really cool, and I like that plant, and I hardly ever use that plant because it's in pink for its default swatch, so I forget it has a green swatch. Yeah, and then, so it ended up turning out really interesting with the windows because I did it backwards. So I might do that more often occasionally because I don't think it turned out bad. But here we're looking at the screenshots and we're coming up on the end. I really like how this one turned out. I hope you guys like how it turned out. Definitely a different vibe from the smaller set of container homes, or container home on this lot. But I think they're like sisters, not twins, right? Like they definitely look like they fit together, but the Sims that live in them are for sure different souls, and I think that's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with it. But I think I'm going to go ahead and leave it here since you're watching the screenshots. I hope you're having a great day and you're feeling loved. And if you're not feeling loved, please know that I love you. I'm glad you exist. I'm glad you're hanging out here. You make the world a better place just by being you. And I will talk to you next, I think, for Minecraft probably, and then another Sims next week. Okay, love you, bye. Mwah.